You are 19 years old. You have $340 in your checking account. You work 32 hours a week at a coffee shop and take 4 classes you barely care about. Your phone buzzes. Venmo notification. $18 from splitting dinner. That's not passive income. That's survival income. Active income. Trade your time, get your money. Stop trading, stop earning. You understand this viscerally every time your alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. for a shift you can't miss, because rent is due in 9 days. But you hear the phrase somewhere, passive income. It sounds like a myth, like something people sell in YouTube ads. You don't believe it yet. You just know you're tired. So you start looking. You read a blog post about dividend stocks. You open a brokerage account. You deposit $200. It takes you 3 weeks to save it. You buy 2 shares of something stable. A utility company. Boring. Safe. Quarterly dividend of $0.34 per share. You do the math. That's $2,072 per year. You stare at the number. It's almost offensive. But it's also something else. It's 2072s you didn't have to clock in for. You leave the position open. You forget about it for a while. 3 months later, $1.68 hits your account. You didn't work for it. You didn't trade time for it. It just appeared. The amount is laughable. The principle is not. That's the first crack in the wall. The understanding that money can move without you moving. You're still broke. You're still working the counter. But something shifted. You start thinking in systems now, not just hours. You're 23. You have $4,100 saved. You're working full-time now. A real job. Salary, benefits, $48,000. A year, you feel rich for exactly 2 weeks. Then you see the tax withholding. Then you see the rent increase. Then you realize $48,000 is just a slower version of being broke. You start contributing to a retirement account. The company matches 4%. You contribute 6%. That's $240 a month. You'll never see that money for 40 years. That's not passive income. That's deferred income. But you're learning the structure. You open a high-yield savings account, 4.5% APY. You move $3,000 into it. You earn $11.25 the first month. It's not enough to buy groceries. It's enough to buy coffee 3 times. You buy the coffee. You feel like you're cheating the system even though you're not. You buy 3 more dividend stocks. You're up to $890 in your brokerage account now. Your annual dividend income is projected at $30. You laugh at it, but you don't sell. You're building something you can't see yet. A foundation. The part nobody sees. The part nobody acknowledges. You're still trading time for money. But a tiny sliver of your money is starting to trade time for you. You're 26. You have $19,000 saved. You're making $68,000 now. You switched jobs twice. You learned that loyalty costs you money. You also learned that every dollar you don't invest is a dollar that dies. You put $12,000 into a diversified index fund. You put $4,000 into dividend growth stocks. You keep $3,000 liquid. Your dividend income this year will be around $280. That's $23 a month. That covers your phone bill, one expense you no longer have to work for. It's small, it's real. You start to see the geometry of this. You're not trying to replace your income. You're trying to replace one expense at a time. Phone bill first, then internet, then groceries, then rent. It's a 20-year plan, maybe 30, but it's a plan. You stop buying things that don't generate return. No new car, no vacation you can't afford. No $90 dinner just because you had a good week. Every dollar has a job now, and the job is to make more dollars. You're becoming efficient. You're becoming cold. You notice it in yourself, but you don't stop. You can't stop, because stopping means going back to trading time forever. You're 29. You have $67,000 invested. You're making $84,000. Yeah. You live in a 1-bedroom that costs too much. You eat the same 4 meals on rotation. You haven't taken a real vacation in 2 years. But your dividend income is $2,400 annually. That's $200 a month. That covers utilities and phone and subscriptions. 3 expenses. You no longer work for 3 expenses. You start thinking about real estate. Not to live in, to rent. You have $31,000 in accessible savings. You need $60,000 for a down payment on a duplex in a market you can afford. You run the numbers. If you house hack, live in one unit and rent the other, the rent covers the mortgage. You're living for free. That's not passive income. That's expense elimination. But expense elimination is the same as income. You save another $29,000 in 18 months. You stop going out. You stop seeing friends who don't understand what you're building. You buy the duplex, $290,000. You put down $58,000. You move into the smaller unit. You rent the other for $1,150. Your mortgage is $1,780. You net $70 a month. It's not much. But your housing cost just went to zero. That's $1,400. A month you no longer have to earn. Your passive income is now $270 a month. Your eliminated expenses equal $1,400. Combined, that's $1,770 a month you don't have to work for. You're still working full-time, but you're working for less of your life now. The math is starting to make sense. You're 33. You have $140,000 invested across index funds, dividend stocks, and REITs. Your portfolio generates $6,700 a year in passive income. That's $558 a month. You sold the duplex after 3 years. You made $61,000 in equity. You took that and bought 2 single-family rentals in a secondary market. Both cash flow $340 a month after expenses. That's $680 a month. Combined with dividends, you're at $1,238 per month in passive income. You're making $102,000 a year at your job now. You're good at what you do. You're also exhausted. You run the numbers constantly. You need $4,500 a month to live. You're at 1,230 hours. You're 27% of the way to financial independence. You're not independent, but you're not entirely dependent either. You exist in between. You start to shift your strategy. You stop optimizing for salary. You start optimizing for time. You take a job that pays $91,000 but lets you work remotely. You move to a lower cost of living area. Your $4,500 monthly need drops to $3,400. Now you're at 36%. You buy another rental. You're at $1,180 passive per month. You're at 46%. The math is compounding now. Not just your money, your options. You can take a month off and survive. You can say no to projects. You can walk away from a bad manager. That's a kind of power you didn't have at 23. It's quiet. It's structural. It's yours. You're 37. You have $310,000 invested. Your dividend and interest income is $14,200 annually. You own 4 rental properties. Total monthly cash flow after all expenses, vacancies and repairs, $2,100. Your passive income is now $3,283 per month. Your living expenses are $3,400. You're 96% financially independent. You're 1 property away, one $80,000 investment away, 1 market correction away in the wrong direction. You don't quit yet. You keep working. But you negotiate everything now. You go part-time, 4 days a week, $68,000 annual salary. You take Fridays off, every Friday. You start to remember what it feels like to not be tired. You buy the 5th property. It cash flows $290 a month. You're now at $3,573 in passive income. You're over. You're financially independent. You're 37 years old. It took you 18 years. You didn't inherit money. You didn't get lucky with crypto. You didn't start a company. You just built systems. Small, boring, Relentless systems. You quit your job 3 months later. Not dramatically. You just stop renewing the contract. You don't post about it. You don't write a Medium article. You just stop trading time for money. The machine you built runs without you now. You sleep until 7:30 a.m. You drink coffee slowly. You go to the grocery store on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. and it's empty. You realize you haven't seen the world like this in 15 years. You don't feel rich. You feel quiet. You're 41. You have $520,000 uninvested. Your portfolio generates $24,000 annually. You own 7 rental properties. Monthly cash flow, $3,950. Total passive income, $5,150 per month. You spend $3,800. You reinvest the difference. You're not trying to get rich anymore. You're trying to stay free. You start to see the next layer. You're financially independent, but you're not wealthy. Wealthy means you can lose 3 income streams and not feel it. You can't. Not yet. You start diversifying. You move $100,000 into a private real estate syndication. Projected return, 14% annually. You'll see $14,000 a year if it performs. You put $50,000 into a dividend-focused ETF. Another $2,800 annually. You buy royalties in a music catalog. Niche, weird, pays $3 and $10 a month. You stop caring what the income source is. You care that it's real, recurring, and disconnected from your time. You're building redundancy now. If one stream dies, 6 others continue. You travel for the first time in years. Not lavishly, just intentionally. You spend a month in Portugal. Your income doesn't stop. Your properties get managed. Your dividends get deposited. You're in Lisbon and your phone buzzes. 1,847 deposited. Rental income. You're eating breakfast. You didn't do anything. The system did it. That's the shift at this level. The system is autonomous. You're just monitoring it now. You're 46. You have $980,000 invested. Your passive income is $9,100 per month. You spend $4,200. You reinvest $4,900. You're compounding faster than you're spending. You'll be a millionaire in portfolio value within 18 months. You don't feel different. You just feel stable. Deeply, structurally stable. You haven't had a job in 9 years. You don't miss it. You also don't romanticize this. You're not on a beach. You're managing systems. Reviewing property reports, rebalancing portfolios, monitoring tax strategy. It's work. It's just not time-traded work. You can do it in 4 hours a week. You start mentoring younger people who ask you how you did it. You tell them the truth. You lived below your means for 20 years. You invested the difference. You didn't get lucky. You got consistent. Most of them don't do it. They hear the timeline and quit before they start. You understand. You almost quit too, several times. At 26, at 30, at 34. The difference is you didn't. You just kept building. 1 deposit, 1 property, 1 dividend. The compounding was invisible for years. Then it wasn't. You're 52. You have a $1,040,000 invested. Your passive income is $16,200 per month. You spend $5,100. You reinvest $11,100. You're not just financially independent. You're wealthy. Not private jet wealthy, but optionally wealthy. You can make decisions based entirely on preference. You want to help your nephew with college. You do. $40,000. It doesn't touch your lifestyle. You want to take 6 months and learn something irrelevant. You do. You study ceramics. You're terrible at it. It doesn't matter. You buy 2 more properties. Not because you need the income, because the structure is sound and the return is there. You're thinking in decades now. Not just your decades. Generational decades. You set up a trust. When you die, the income doesn't stop. It flows to your sister's kids. The system outlives you. That's the final layer. You're not building for yourself anymore. You're building something that continues. The properties get inherited, the portfolio gets managed, the income continues. You're 52 and you're building for people who aren't born yet. That's not wealth, that's architecture. You're 61. You have $3,200,000 invested. Your passive income is $27,000 per month. You spend $6,800. You give away $8,000. You reinvest $12,200. You don't track it as closely anymore. You check quarterly, not daily. The numbers are too large to feel real. You remember being 19. You remember $340 in your account. You remember the 0,068 in dividend. You remember thinking it was pointless. It wasn't pointless. It was the beginning. You don't work. You haven't worked in 24 years. You don't introduce yourself by what you do. You introduce yourself by your name. Just your name. People ask what you did. You say you invested early and lived small. It's true. It's also incomplete. You lived with intention. You delayed gratification for 2 decades. You missed parties. You missed trips. You missed spontaneity. You got freedom. The trade was worth it. You think so anyway. Most days. You're 68. You have $4,100,000 invested. Your passive income is $34,000 per month. You spend $7,200. The rest flows into the trust. You don't need more. You don't want more. You have everything you optimized for. Time, options, stability. You're sitting in a park on a Wednesday morning. It's 9:47 a.m. There are people in suits walking fast. There are delivery trucks idling. There's a kid on a skateboard who should be in school. You're just sitting. Your phone buzzes. Dividend deposit, $1,420. You don't react. It's just another number. You think about the 19-year-old version of yourself. The one who deposited $200 and got 0.68. You wish you could tell him it works. That the system is real. That the compounding happens. That the freedom is worth it. But he wouldn't believe you. Nobody believes it at 19. You didn't either. You just started anyway. Somewhere in a cramped apartment in a city that never stops moving, a 19-year-old opens a brokerage app for the very first time. She has $150 to invest. She buys half a share of something stable. The projected annual dividend is $1.80. She laughs. She thinks it's pointless. She doesn't close the app. She leaves the position open. The market blinks. The system takes another step forward.